Welcome to this on-demand video for finalizing your Community Collective Impact Model for Change Theory of Change. My name is Carrie Berggraf, and I'm a member of the Community Collective Impact Model for Change Training, Technical Assistance, and Evaluation team. Today we're going to be discussing how to finalize your community's CCIM4C Theory of Change. At the beginning of the CCIM4C initiative, we explored the importance of having a theory of change, or a logic model, to explain why you were doing what you were doing. The theory of change is a document that clearly articulates your community's vision to address the opioid crisis under the CCIM4C initiative, and it also serves as a roadmap that is understood by all members of the community. The theory of change helps us meet 4 of the 7 deliverables of the CCIM4C initiative, either fully or partially, as highlighted here. To support communities in developing this vision document, the leadership team provided each community with a theory of change template. In keeping with the common agenda and shared measurement aspects of collective impact, several pieces of this template were already completed in alignment with the statewide theory of change. However, there were 2 main pieces of the theory of change that we asked each community to complete, shown here in green and yellow. This template should look very familiar by now. The first piece involved mobilizing your community partners and forming subcommittees with these partners. This is the who and is noted in green. The second piece involved identifying the root causes and causal factors that are contributing to opioid use disorder deaths and a lack of access to opioid use disorder treatment in your community. These root causes and causal factors provided the short-term and midterm outcomes, or goals, and are noted in yellow. By now, you likely have a good list of partners to fill in that green box. Go ahead and review that list one more time before finalizing. Remember, these should be the partners that are currently involved in your CCIM4C efforts. This list will be posted to the website and displayed at the CCIM4C Summit. So your partners should not be surprised if they're included on this list. Make sure that everything is spelled correctly and any acronyms are fully written out. Your partner list should be written in a way that anyone in the community could pick it up and tell exactly who is involved in this initiative. Next, we asked you to fill in the yellow box with the goals from your strategic plan maps. We would like to revisit this step to ensure that your goals include all of the relevant information. In order to complete this piece, you're going to need to transfer both your short-term outcome, or the outcome for the root cause, and your midterm outcome, or the outcome for the causal factor, from your strategic plan map to the theory of change. For each outcome, you also need to include how it is going to be measured. This is that statement included in your outcomes box that starts as measured by blank. This information should already be included in the outcomes boxes of each of your strategic plan maps. You will do this for each strategic plan map until you have 12 goals in total, a short-term goal and a midterm goal for each of the 6 plan areas. This slide shows how the outcomes from a demand reduction strategic plan map will be transferred to the theory of change, and you'll repeat this process for each of the 6 plans. When transferring your outcomes to the theory of change, make sure you are making the proper grammatical edits so each goal reads more like a sentence. As you can see in the pink, in the box on the right, our goals box starts, which will create conditions for, and then all your goals are listed below. This is kind of how you want to start your sentence, which will create conditions for, and then your goal should be inserted there. And that should be how your sentence should read. You may need to change what is in your strategic map in order to read more like a sentence. I'm going to pull up an example to walk through and also show you a couple of Excel tips to help you format your theory of change. Here you will see our sample Excel file and sample strategic plan maps from our example county of Apple County. The theory of change is the same template that you were provided at the beginning of the CCIM4C initiative. In this sample, we have not filled in the green boxes, but you will be doing that in order to finalize your theory of change. What I'm going to focus on for this segment is how to fill in your goals boxes. You can see that I've already filled in the first two goals from Apple County's demand reduction plan. In order to fill in these boxes, you're going to copy and paste your short-term outcome and your midterm outcome into your demand reduction goals box. Remember, when copy and pasting into that box, make sure you read your goals as a full statement beginning which will create conditions for. You can see from my strategic plan map that I've had to change some of the grammar in order to make it read more like a sentence. We don't want them to just be fragments floating out there that don't really make any sense when someone reads through the full document of the theory of change. The other thing to note is to make sure each goal includes an as measured by statement. As you can see, in Apple County, they're using the youth survey to measure an increased perception of risk or harm. And that's included right here, as measured by the percent of youth responding to the youth survey who are reporting the specific item. Now, I'm going to take you through the supply reduction goals and using the strategic plan map to transfer the outcomes to the goals. So here I've pulled up Apple County's supply reduction strategic plan map. You can see their measurable outcomes, their short-term, midterm, and then this final opioid use disorder outcome. We are going to copy and paste our first outcome, the short-term outcome, and you can copy using your mouse or your keyboard, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And we're just going to put it up in the text box at the top of the Excel sheet. And you can see that our goal is now included in the supply reduction goals box. Now, we're going to be adding a second goal, but we want them to be separate because these two goals are separate goals. They're a short-term goal and a midterm goal. So at the end of your first goal, that short-term outcome, put your cursor in the text box right after the period. Hold down the Alt button and hit Enter. And that will give you a hard return. Go ahead and do that one more time, Alt Enter. And you'll see that it creates a space in the text box, which will show up in the Excel cell down here that separates our goals. We're going to go ahead and copy and paste our midterm outcome and put it in our box. And click anywhere down here in the Excel sheet and it'll kind of show up. And you can see this nice space included that keeps our two goals separated. And we also, under the demand reduction goals, included a space up here so that we were separating each strategic plan map's goals all the way down as well. So we can go back up into this text box, go to that second goal, and again hold Alt and hit Enter. Oops, I think we need one more. Alt Enter. And we create another space down here before going to our next set of goals. And this just keeps the spacing accurate for the formatting and for people reading. You know, the goals aren't running together, and we're making sure that they're represented as separate goals as well. So the next thing you need to do is to make sure that your goals are reading more like a sentence. You can see we just took our outcomes straight from the strategic plan map. So if you read this sentence, it would start, which will create conditions for the availability of prescription opiates for misuse will be decreased as measured by. And you can tell that that doesn't really read like a sentence. You can tell that this came from a different place and was just simply copy and pasted. So we just want to make sure, go up and change the wording so that it reads more like a sentence. So maybe for this one, we're going to have to take what we're trying to do and put it at the beginning. So we're trying to decrease the availability of prescription opiates for misuse. So which will create conditions for a decrease in the availability of prescription opiates for misuse. Take out that portion since we've already captured it, as measured by blank. And you can see our change down in the Excel file here. And you would do the same thing with the first one. So which will create conditions for more adults. You know, this one you could probably just change to reporting disposing of unused prescription medications, or an increase in adults reporting of disposing of unused prescription medications as measured by blank. So there's really no wrong or right way to change the grammar to make sure that it kind of makes sense. I mean, there are different ways to do it, but make sure that when you read it, it reads like a sentence and it doesn't read like you just copy and pasted it from that strategic plan map. Again, when someone from your community picks up your theory of change, they may not also be looking at your strategic plan map. This is the one document where everything is going to be included, and you want to make sure that they can read it and it makes sense and it's clear and they know exactly what your community is trying to do under the CCIM4C initiative without needing to go to these supporting documents. So then you can go ahead and take away the yellow highlighted if you want to for each one that you complete. It's kind of like a I'm done with that box, gold star, moving on, and keep your yellow boxes for the ones you still need to do. At the end, all of these are going to be white. They're not going to be yellow anymore. They were only yellow so that everybody knew this was part of the theory of change that needed to be filled in. So you're going to go ahead and do the same thing for each strategic plan map. Grab your short-term outcome, Alt-Enter, Alt-Enter, your midterm outcome, Alt-Enter, change the grammar, change the background to white instead of yellow, and then move on. The other thing to keep in mind, we did provide everyone with the theory of change template, so most likely you won't run into this problem. But if you do and your text starts running off to the side out here into these additional boxes, you may have the wrap text button turned off. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. And you can see when I took off the wrap text up here in the toolbar that my text went all the way down the page and outside of this parameter, which when we're printing and formatting, obviously we don't want that to happen or else we're going to miss a whole portion of our text. And especially when you get down to your goals, you're going to be missing a whole lot of your goals. You just get the very beginning portion. So click back on the box and you can click on the wrap text button up here in your toolbar, and it just keeps it within that cell. So you can read it, everything's formatted well, and that's just a good trick for when you're working in Excel on documents. That and the Alt-Enter for a hard return. Our team has found both of those particularly useful. If you're not an Excel master, you may not know necessarily about those little tips and tricks. So we hope you find that useful. So once you've completed that for all of your yellow boxes, read it over, read it through, made sure sentences are making sense, and you have all your as measured by statements, then your goals portion is pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to go back and stop sharing my Excel file and go back to the PowerPoint and finish up the on-demand video. All right, so now we're just going to finish up with a quick overview of what we've hit today. So in order to finalize your theory of change for the Community Collective Impact Model for Change initiative, you have a great base to start from. You already did this work in October and November, really getting your partner list together, starting to transfer some of those short-term and midterm outcomes onto your theory of change goals. And many of you got a great start at that point in time. Now it's time to go back and look at those drafts, review your partners and finalize that list. Add your partners to your theory of change, those green boxes, and again, make sure to check for spelling errors, write out your acronyms, and make sure you're including only your current partners who would not be surprised if they appeared on this list. Next, you're going to review your short-term and midterm outcomes from each of your strategic plan maps and finalize those as your goals for your theory of change. You're going to add your short-term and midterm outcomes with your measures, so that as measured by statement, to your theory of change goals, so those yellow boxes. Remember to read the goals as a sentence and make the necessary grammatical changes. We want anyone from your community to pick up this document and be able to read it all the way through and understand exactly what your goals are under the CCIM4C initiative. Finally, remember those couple Excel tips we just reviewed. Make sure to wrap the text so your text is showing up just in the cell and not all the way across the page. And separate each of your goals with a blank space using that hard return, that Alt-Enter. Remember, you're going to end up with 12 goals in the green boxes, and you do not need to include or label what those goals are anymore. For example, you do not need to say demand reduction goals and then list them. Just list the goals in sentence form and you'll be great. After you're done, make sure you visit the CCIM4C website for all of the information on deadlines, drop-in calls that we will be holding to support you as you finalize your theory of change, any questions or support that you need along the way, technical assistance if you're having trouble with that Excel file. And then we will be finalizing these and sharing them at the Collective Impact Summit in March. And then we will also be posting these on the CCIM4C website for the public to view, for your communities to view, and just to celebrate the work that we've done over these last almost year and a half now. So thank you for watching this video, and we are here to support you along the way. Let us know what you need, and we'd be happy to help.